welcome our guest, Raghavendra Ponkshe, owner of Bhate and Ponkshe, as well as Prudom Consulting. Sir, may I have your permission to proceed? Thank you, sir. Mr. Ponkshe is an intellectual property consultant focusing on technology startups and intellectual property law. He is also an entrepreneur and has business experience prior to entering IP consulting practice. Sir started his professional career as a manager with Diamond Group, specializing in international business, and later managing the manufacturing process for telecom, chemical, and cable TV related products for the group. In addition, his specialties include identification and strategizing the IP for effective implementation, branding, and identity negotiation. He was also the chairman of the Indo-American Chamber of Commerce for Pune chapter. Now, without any further ado, please join me in welcoming Mr. Raghavendra Ponkshe.
So good afternoon to all of you. Is it okay if I walk here? Yes. Rather than podium is a little difficult. Yeah. So I'm going to talk to you about intellectual property rights, IPR, as it's generally termed, right? So all of you must have heard some part of IPR, right? As in people talk, there are a lot of business magazines or papers or journals which cover the facet, they talk about intellectual property rights. Am I audible? Yes. Okay, good. So I'm going to speak about what does IP mean? What does IP cover? And how do we view or how do we see intellectual property? Right? Can you go to the next page, please? The side arrow. Yeah. So just a brief on what we are, and this covers some of your questions as well, right? So it was established in 1965 by my father, Mr. Ponkshe, Satyavrat Ponkshe, and Mr. Bhate. We are one of the first to get into intellectual property rights, that 58 years ago, when seldom anyone knew what intellectual property rights are all about. So incidentally, my grandfather had his first patent pre-independence. So 1946, he was granted his first patent. So patents is not new to India. Patents have been there even pre-independence. There have been acts and patents granted in the country even before independence was granted to us. Right? So we have national, international clientele and associates all across the world in almost 120 plus countries where we file intellectual property, that's patents, trademarks, etc. for our clients, inventors and businesses across the world. Right? We manage more than 5,000 patents and 5,000 trademark applications on a daily basis. Right? And it's a techno-legal kind of a team. So, because intellectual property is not only purely legal, you need a lot of technology, understanding to work in the field of intellectual property. I'll come to why do we need that, right? First question, property, or rather first statement I would say, there are two types of properties that we see, tangible and intangible, right? So you're sitting on a chair, it's a tangible property. We're using a laptop, it's a tangible property. You drive a car, you drive a vehicle, it's a tangible property, right? You value that, correct? Something which is working in your mind, which has not been put to practice, is intangible in nature. And that intangible is essentially intellectual property. Because ideation, creation is intangible in nature until and unless you put it to practice, right? So these are two basic differences between tangible and intangible. And intellectual property is intangible to start with and ends up being tangible. If you use whatever you're using today, that is your Samsung or your Apple, whatever you're using, right? It was visualized by someone. It was visualized on paper, it was designed on paper, and then converted into a tangible form. So in effect, what happens is, you're creating something in your mind and then putting it to practice as in a different form factor. So intellectual property starts being intangible, converted into a tangibleness. That is a normal property, and that's what you buy and sell. Correct? So these are basic differences. Next, please. This is my favorite line. IPR is an extremely boring topic until and unless as it costs you money. Why? IPR is a subset of law, right? And when you think law, you talk about sections and you talk about acts, and then it starts to get boring. Even it bores me a lot as well, though I'm in practice for the last 25 years. Right? Day in, day out, we keep on reading the sections and acts and different kind of joining the two acts together and creating something as a matter of a case, right? But it is essentially a boring topic. But why I say that it costs you money? Now you must have heard people talking about or read in the papers or in magazines where people have said that my intellectual property has been stolen. Someone is using my intellectual property. Someone is using my creation where I'm not getting any money out of it. So what does it mean? You're losing out on money, right? So if you consider you creating a product, you creating a brand, you want to get into a services business, you want to start management consulting, right? You start up a brand, you say I'm going to do valuations, you say I'm going to commercialize something as a service. You start a brand, and after a year you toil hard, and after a year you come to know that someone else has started using that same brand. What happens? What happens? Your customer goes away. If your customer goes away, what happens? Loss of what? And what? Sorry? That's the right answer. So goodwill is lost. Now goodwill is intangible in nature. Correct? And tangibility is the money. So I can associate it, proportionally, directly associated. Goodwill is directly associated with finance, with money, right? So that is where the money part comes into when it comes to intellectual property rights. Next, please. So what is intellectual property? 4 basic facets. There are more, but I'm going to talk about 4 out here. Inventions and innovations, symbols, names and logos, literary and artistic work, as Professor Desai is sitting here, cinematographic work also, right? Shape and design. These are the 4 basic facets of intellectual property, which we see every day, which we use every day, right? So these are the 4 basic facets of intellectual property. Next, please. I'm going to take a case study out here, so it will hopefully make you understand better and faster as to what IP is all about. Next. So this is something that you use day in, day out, right? Since your childhood, you have seen this bottle, correct? So where do you see intellectual property here? Okay, 1, shape of the bottle. What else? Logo, okay. What else? Brand names, okay. What else? Yes, please. Okay, know-how. The product which is? Okay, what else? Yes. Okay. Yes. Okay, good. The tagline, okay. What else? Quality, okay. Yes, there at the back. Yes, you. Quality, okay. Jingle. You have seen a jingle in a bottle. But that's a good thought, right? What else? Yes. Good. Anyone else? Yes. Trademark, okay. That is it? Okay, next please. So here you see the bottle which has a label on it, right? So any artistic or literary work which goes on any product is a subject matter of a copyright. So there is a peculiar color combination there on a label, right? You will see a brew in a different packaging and a Nescafe in a different packaging. They could have used the same, right? But they haven't. Why? Because Nescafe has claimed copyright over that particular way of packaging, right? So this, any packaging form is a subject matter of copyright. Next, please. Nescafe, Gold Blend, even the three items which you see at the bottom are trademarks. So would you go into a shop and say, "Mujhe coffee dena"? आप क्या मांगोगे? Exactly. So Nescafe, अगर Nescafe मांगते हो, तो वो brand हो जाता है. Right? That is the brand, that is the trademark which comes into picture. Next, please. The shape of the bottle, right, is design registration. It's called design rights. Any shape of any original shape, any original representation of any object which is visible to the naked eye is a subject matter of design registration. So here you see two designs. One is the shape of the bottle and one is the shape of the cap. The shape of the cap also can be independently registered, because it could have had a round cap also, but they have not put a round cap. They have created a unique cap design. So tomorrow, if you go into a shop and pick up a Nescafe bottle, it's not only the packaging, it's also the cap which becomes a differentiator. Correct? So that is how design is looked at. Next, please. So can someone tell me what could be a patent here? Yes. Yes, please. Okay. Good attempt. What else? Yes. Color. Of what? General color. Or of the material. Okay. What else? Coffee material, the same thing. वो डिजाइन में हो गया? Okay, good attempt बस. उसमें क्या? Well, that would go into design, right? The shape? Yes, please. Okay, that is again a subject matter of design registration. Someone here? Yes? Okay. The art on the yellow paper. Okay. Packing. What packing? Okay. Yes, in the middle. That goes into trademark. Yes. Okay. The back, yes, please. Good attempt. Yes. Good. Yes. Of the glass. Okay. Yes. The taste of coffee. Okay. Yes, please. Okay. The aroma of the coffee, you mean? Okay. Yes. Last two. The size of the coffee. Okay. Yes. Okay. Okay, the last one here. Okay. Okay, now let's go one by one. You see the bottle there, right? The bottom of the bottle. So it's not about the bottom of the bottle. It's about the process of manufacturing the bottle. Okay. So you would say, what is so great about a process of making a bottle? Now, bottles have been made for umpteen number of years, hundreds of years bottles have been made, right? Glass bottles are not new or to all of us, right? But there could be a different machinery which is made to optimize the manufacturing of a glass bottle, right? So if they were manufacturing, say, about 1,000 bottles a day, if I create a system or a process which makes me manufacture, helps me manufacture about 100,000 bottles a day, that is innovation. So the process and the machinery used to manufacture this bottle is a subject matter of a patent. Okay. Now let's come to the next picture. That is the cap. So what is there in this cap? Shape was covered in design. Forget the shape. Foam sheet. Okay. Anyone else? Logo is trademark. Next. Huh? White sheet. That's what she said. Yeah. Okay. Good try. The patent out here is in the locking mechanism of the cap. So if you see here, there is a locking mechanism out there. There are hinges out there. There are gaps out there in the bottle, the grooves. It locks the bottle. That's what we call it airtight, right? Any coffee bottle is airtight. So how does it make it airtight? It needs to lock, right? Either it's a snap fit or there is a non-snap locking mechanism. So this is a non-snap locking mechanism. So that mechanism of locking also is a subject matter of a patent. So patents could be anywhere. It is not, you need not be an Einstein to create a product, right? Any new improvement, any innovation that you do is a subject matter of a patent. Existing कोई है, इसमें परेशानी है, वो परेशानी का हल आप निकालते हो, तो उसको पेटेंट मिल सकता है. It needs to be a technical innovation. That is for what a patent is granted. Now let's come to the third one. There is a seal, right? So what is there as a patent there? Sorry? The process of sealing this bottle. There is a typical process of sealing a bottle. There is a machinery used for sealing a bottle, right? So that machinery and the process of sealing the bottle is a subject matter of a patent. The glue used to seal the bottle could be a subject matter of a patent because that glue would have a unique composition. Why? Because there is edible material in the bottle. So I can't use an M-seal, right? So I need to come out with a different composition to seal the bottle, right? So that could be a subject matter of a patent. Now consider there are thousands of bottles on a conveyor belt, right? And there is a machinery to hold the bottle and to seal the bottle. That machine, that arrangement to hold the bottle and seal the bottle with this particular sealing also is a subject matter of a patent. So when you look at any product, there could be multiples of intellectual property in that product, right? And then we come to the last part. You see the coffee powder out there. Someone rightly said out here it could be a part of the composition. Yes, the mixture, the admixture could be a subject matter of a patent. The process of creating that powder also could be a subject matter of a patent. The machinery used to create that powder also could be a subject matter of a patent, right? So there are multiple aspects when you look at a single product like a coffee bottle. One single product that we use every day, day in, day out in our life has so many types of intellectual property. Next please. As part of that product. So these are basic 5 facets of intellectual property. Patents for innovations, trademarks for logos, symbols, names, used in trade and commerce, industrial design for shape and aesthetic of an object which is visible to the naked eye, copyright for anything which is literary, artistic in nature, which is original in nature. For example, this presentation that I'm showing you is a copyright, because this is my original representation, right? So this is a subject matter of a copyright. And finally, geographical indication, GI, as it's normally called. So what is a GI? Simply put, Kanjivaram sarees, Paithani saree, Kolhapuri chappal, Tasgaon grapes, Bikaneri bhujia. What else is coming to your mind? Banarasi saree, what else? So many of them, right? Unending. Now what does it relate to? It relates to a geographical origin of a product. Now if a chappal is made in Pune, will I call it Kolhapuri chappal? It can't be called a Kolhapuri chappal, right? It has uniqueness in it. You can call a pagdi Puneri pagdi, because Puneri pagdi does exist and there is a GI on Puneri pagdi. If I grow grapes out here in Pune, in the backyard out here, can I call it Nasik grapes or Tasgaon grapes? You can't, because they have originated in Pune, right? So anything which originates in a particular geographical area in a given territory and is related to that particular geographical area is a subject matter of geographical indications. So tomorrow, as I was speaking to Jay sir as well, tomorrow if someone makes a Bikaneri bhujia in Pune and starts calling it Bikaneri bhujia, he's infringing GI. He can't do that. He can call it Puneri bhujia or Wakadi bhujia, right? But he can't call it Bikaneri bhujia, right? So it is only related to being manufactured in that particular geographical area. That's when you can call it a particular name, right? Next, please. Yeah, so what is in the name? Almost everything, because it sells. If I say Bakarwadi, why not Kaka Halwai? But first name comes as Chitare, right? Because it is associated with the product of Bakarwadi. If you see a large M, what do you relate it to? Why not Mahindra and Mahindra? So it's associated with some goods and services, and it denotes something which is called as quality, right? So that is what is in the name, and that is exactly what sells. Next, please. And that is a trademark. Okay. Go ahead. So what is the difference out here? The first two pictures on the left, what do you call them? No, you call them apple. Right? You have a fruit and you have an electronics or a product manufacturing or a services company called Apple. But you differentiate between the two, right? You would not call the quarterly eaten apple as an apple fruit. You would always relate it to technology than any fruit or vegetable, right? Similarly, you have two Gs, which is owned by the same company. But when you see both of them, what would you call them? Google. You won't call it Ganesh, right? You would always call it Google. So that's the trademark. So visually they could be different, but they take you to the same source, same origin, right? Next, please. It's all about M. It's all about M, right? But you differentiate between the three M's. How? And what? Product category, yes. And what? Font is, yeah, that's part of the logo. And what? Quality? Consistency? So all that relates to a particular visual connector. These are all visual connectors, right? If you are on a highway or on any street, if you see the yellow M, you will always relate it to a McDonald's. You'll never call it a Mahindra. If you see M&M, what do you relate it to? Why not Mahindra and Mahindra? But this M&M is Mohammed and Mahindra? It's not, right? It's chocolates. So there is a differentiation. There is a visual differentiation. There is a connected differentiation. There is a origin differentiation. That is what a trademark does. It differentiates the quality. It differentiates the product line. It differentiates it visually. And that is what generates goodwill. Next, please. What is the difference between the two CA? Both are chartered accountants. Then what is the other CA? Oh, by the way, which is the chartered accountant here? The one in the bottom. And what is the one in the top? Sorry? It is a company called Computer Associates. It used to be a very large US-centric computer-related, software-related company called CA. When it came into India, many people were confused between this CA and the CA at the bottom. But there is a visual differentiation. Why and how? The top one just is a plain CA, right? And the bottom one has something unique in it. Absolutely. Why is the tick mark unique? If you have seen any CA working, when he's doing an audit, he will always give it a ulta tick mark. He has seen it. And that is what comes into the brand. Right? So that's where you denote the services as to how you kind of associate it with the services. What's the third larger one? Why? It's a keyhole. It is a keyhole. Well, how can you say it's SBI? On what basis are you telling me it's SBI? What logo? It's a keyhole. How do you say, on what basis are you saying it's an SBI? Sorry? Absolutely. It's about the color. If I make it a different color, it could be a different logo altogether. So here, what are you associating the logo with? Color, right? So it is a normal keyhole if I say it, if I put it that way. But because it has been used extensively for umpteen number of decades, right? With a blue color and a specific blue color, it makes it a logo of SBI. And that's how we relate to it. Now, if I ask you a simple question, you have a blue bottle. You go to a shop and you see a blue bottle. What do you relate it to? Sure? Okay, let me make it a little more specific. You see a blue bottle with a nariyal ka jhad. Why? Why can't it be any other bottle? Exactly. So that is what is called as a trade dress. Your packaging of a product also creates a lot of goodwill. And that packaging also is a subject matter of a trademark. Okay? So when you look at any trademark, it's not only the name, it's the visual differentiation that you create using that word or using a logo for that matter. That is the subject matter of a trademark. Please go ahead. So what is a trademark? As we saw in the examples, it's a distinctive sign which identifies and distinguishes goods or services as those produced or provided. As mentioned, a trademark can be a combination of words, letters, and numerals. Can anyone come out with a numeral trademark which is known? Yes? It is a combination. Only a numeral trademark. Yeah? Only a numeral trademark. Yes. Numeral. Okay, one part. Okay, what else? What is that? Acha, I'm sorry for my ignorance, but I was not aware. Okay, it could be. Yes. Next, please. Product. I'll come to it. I'm going to come to the numeral part later on. Okay, you see these things used, right? 4 rings you will always associate it with Audi. You will never call it a Mercedes, right? So it has a differentiation. The swoosh, Nike, not a Reebok. So you associate the origin. Next, please. These are all the services marks, right? Where logos are being used to provide services like banking, Walt Disney, educational institutions, Air India, Jio, Taj, everyone is providing services under a particular brand. So if you look at a Taj as a name, you will always say it's a high quality, a premium brand which has premium services. Correct? So everything is associated with the brand and then along with associated with the services. Next, please. So as far as the numeral is concerned, a very wrong example to give. The first example would be 555. A very well-known cigarette brand across the world. Okay? Right. If you look at A380, what is it? It's Airbus 380. So 380 is a numeral brand. Okay? 747, 320, Airbus, 320. Right? All these are numeral marks which have been registered. Right? So tomorrow if I start Bhate and Ponkshe ka airplane, I won't be able to call it 320 or 380 or 747. Right? Because they are registered as a brand for aircraft under the Trademarks Act. So they are only with them. No one else can use it. Right? So all these, if you look at, there is something called as a signature mark also. If you see all these Tendulkars, Dhonis, Bachchans of the world have registered their signatures in our local, in our parlance we call them autographs as trademarks. So tomorrow if you are want to kind of have that drawing as a signature and start selling his signature as part of a t-shirt or something, Sachin Tendulkar can stop you for using his signature because it has been registered as a trademark. So signatures also are a part of trademarks. A very good local example out here is the Kirloskar brand. If you see the Kirloskar brand, it is a signature actually of the founder of Kirloskar, that is Lakshmanrao Kirloskar. Right? It goes from bottom to top. Right? It's a classic signature which has been registered as a trade name and which has been used for almost 100 years now as a brand. Right? So signatures also could be a subject matter of a brand. So what is the purpose of a trademark? The purpose of a trademark essentially is to indicate the source of goods. As I started off with, goodwill is an essential part of a trademark because what sells is the goodwill. I'll give you an example out here. A very short story in 30 seconds. Someone approached the press, it's been told that someone approached the president of Coca-Cola and evinced interest of buying Coca-Cola. So discussion happened and they said, okay, some billions of dollars for the equipment and the machinery and the bottling plants, etc., etc. So that was okay. The next question from the buyer came, what is the brand? How about the brand? So the equipment or bottling machines supposedly was sold at say $10 billion. The brand value was $500 billion. So that is the difference between the goodwill, which is intangible in nature, and a tangible property. Right? A tangible property could be sold for $10 billion, but for an intangible brand which has been tangibilized, could be at $500 billion also. So if you, as part of your activity, just run a check on the most valuable brands in the world. And all of those most valuable brands in the world are in billions of dollars. And if you look at their actually fixed assets, they may not be in billions of dollars. So the valuation of the brand, of the goodwill, is higher than anything else. So today when you see there is valuation happening, there are M&A deals happening, there is a co-branding exercise happening. Why do people co-brand? Because there is a goodwill associated with a brand. And to make use of that goodwill, it is always good to co-brand a product. So you have the double engine effect out there, where the original brand or both the brands have separate amount of goodwill or created goodwill. When both join together, it creates a different effect altogether, right? So that is what goodwill means. Protection of the brand is only through a trademark registration as far as the logo is concerned. And it is almost unfair to allow anyone else without your permission. So we see a lot of infringement cases happening around us. I don't know, but many of you may be ignorant of the fact that you may be buying spurious goods. You walk into a shop, I use the example of the blue bottle. Coconut oil देना, वो थमा देता है एक बॉटल हाथ में, आप देखते भी नहीं हो क्या लिखा है उसके ऊपर, पैसा देके निकल जाते हो. Do you actually read what brand you are buying? Do you actually read where it is manufactured? So that is actually an unfair practice. That is piracy, right? So the owner of the brand has all the right to stop such kind of spurious manufacturers. There was a case in Pune where the blue bottle was used. The coconut tree, which has 3 branches, was made into a 5 branches tree. वो कुछ 5 कोकोनट दिखते हैं, वो कुछ 10 किए थे उन्होंने, और नाम लिखा था PARAKUTE. Instead of PARACHUTE, they made a brand called PARAKUTE. But it sold because the visual similarity was there. People like us who are ignorant, who don't see what we buy, just picked it up. And they were selling in the market. When Parachute came to know about it, probably they took an action on it. And there are umpteen number of such cases which are happening all around us. So when you look at a brand, as a buyer, you should know what you are buying, number one. And if you come into business or any profession, you should know how to stop others, how to prevent others from using your own goodwill, right? So it's a two-edged sword. Kind of. Next, please. I have 15 minutes. Okay. So I'll quickly go to what are good trademarks. They need to be distinct in nature. They should be non-descriptive. They should not refer to the quality of the goods or services. For example, Supreme, A1, all are kind of termed as qualities, right? An invented or coined word, and easy to pronounce. For example, if you get a French name and start selling in the rural area of India, would that brand sell? Would people be able to pronounce that brand? Impossible, right? So classic example in Pune, there used to be a furniture showroom in Pune on Law College Road called Gautier. Finally, they had to write it in Marathi, how to pronounce it. Because people made, umpteen number of names out of that, the wordings that were there, out there. So such brands, such names should not come. The automotive industry is very sensitive of the brands they put to their cars and vehicles. Because every region in the country has different connotation to that word. Correct? So when you put a brand, when you associate a logo or a brand or a name with any product or service, you should think of all these aspects. Because it may sell in Maharashtra, because it may be colloquial, but that particular name would have a complete different meaning in Tamil Nadu and a third meaning in Assam. So people of Assam and Tamil Nadu may not want to buy your product because of the name, howsoever good it may be. Correct? So it is very important to know what brand or what name to be used. And finally, easy to pronounce. Next, please. I don't know whether there are. Okay, I'll give you an example as a invented word. What does Sanikova mean to you? Sanikova. Sanikova. Can you? It's an invented word, by the way. It's a coined word. Anyone? Any guess? Goodbye. Sayonara, goodbye. Okay, it's a combination of Sania Mirza and Anna Kournikova. Because this Sanikova brand was used for cosmetics and used for products which were to be exported to Middle East and Russia, the erstwhile USSR, Eurasia for that matter. So he wanted to have the inventor or the owner of that company wanted to, because he's a tennis buff, and he wanted to have a brand which could sound like a local brand in the Eurasian region. And because Dubai people or Middle East people buy a lot of Russian things, they could associate that product with a Russian product. And hence the name Sanikova. It's actually it's a coined word from Sania Mirza and Anna Kournikova. Right? So what do you do before you file a trademark application? This is typical process. Identify goods and services you intend to use for the brand. Important aspect out here, there are 45 classifications in the Trademarks Act, the part of law now, okay, wherein goods and services are divided. So 1 to 34 are for goods, goods as in products, that where you're going to use that brand for. And 35 to 45 are for services, like education is a service, restaurant is a service, car dealership is a service, consulting is a service, right? So Bhate Ponkshe is a service. So we are registered in the services classification. If you are doing R&D, it's a service, right? So that's how they are divided. So fundamentally, it's important to take a search to find out whether this brand is available or not. If it is not available, forget it and start from the scratch. Because it is very expensive to defend any litigation in this country. It's time consuming. If you're going to start a new activity or you're being in the profession or in service anywhere, and if the trademarks come in front of you, if there is already a mark which is similar to what you intend to do, please do not use the same. Because you will end up losing a hell lot of money and a hell lot of time to kind of come steer out of that problem. Right? So trademarks have to be taken very, very seriously. Also run a generic search to find out whether any other, even though they are not registered, right, still I can stop you from using the same brand. Because remember, the principle of goodwill works in the facet of trademark. It comes from the basis of the use of the trademark. So if I'm using a trademark before he has started using the trademark, I am the first owner of the trademark. So I can stop him from using the same trademark. A classic example out here is Manik Chand. Manik Chand used to make jarda and gudka, right? They started in some 80s. Today you don't find Manik Chand brand anywhere in gudka or jarda. None should eat it, right? But they were started by a company called Malik Chand. Because they were using Malik Chand since 1930s or 40s. That's what they have claimed to be using, right? So it becomes a prior user. And Malik Chand and Manik Chand is phonetically similar. So when you look at a trademark, we also look at phonetical similarity. लोग पूछते हैं मैं क्वालिटी का के से भी कर सकता हूँ, क्यू से भी कर सकता हूँ, लेकिन क्वालिटी तो क्वालिटी ही रहेगा, right? SK can be SK or ESSKAY or ESSKAE, but fundamentally it's pronounced SK. So from an infringement perspective, it is an infringement of a trademark. So when we look at any kind of combinations or brands, we should stay away from such kind of things. Next please. Let's go a little faster. Do I have time for patents or I don't have time for patents? Okay. Okay, next please. So this is the trademark is valid for 10 years. Every 10 years one has to renew it and it can remain with you in perpetuity. There are trademarks in the country which are there for 100 years, which are still active, still live, right? So they have been renewed every 10 years. Next, please. These are the right symbols, what you see. So R is a registered trademark and TM is trademark application has been filed. So when you see any brand which is R, that means that they have received registration or monopolistic rights for their mark, for their trade name. And if you see a TM, that denotes that they have filed for registration of a trademark. And the process or the application may be in process, right? So these are the two differentiating factors. Next, please. Next, please. Leave it at that, I think. That's it. Thank you. What if someone runs away with a technical idea, concept, product? You must have heard about this many times, and this is going to grow in our country, right? So how does one protect any technology, any concept, technical concept, any product? The only way to do it is filing a patent. You'll be happy to know that in the last 4 years, the largest filing population with the Indian Patent Office is students. Majority of the students are filing patent applications these days. They're filing more than an industry could do. Because all of you young minds are coming out, buzzing out with ideas. You think about an app for doing something. You come out with a problem-solving product, a very generic, normal product, but you attempt it in a different way. That could be an improvement over an existing product. All this fits into the patent's perspective. So in very layman's terms, any improvement that you do in any existing product could be a subject matter of a patent. So there are products which have 500 patents on a single product. For example, there's an Olympus camera, a digital camera, small camera, which has about 500 patents. So you need not actually create a complete new system altogether, but even if you improve an existing one, that could also mean a subject matter of a patent. Because fundamentally, I personally don't believe that there is something called as invention anymore. We are not inventing anything. What we are doing today is innovation. Because a base has been created, we are using that base to solve the current problems and future problems. So that essentially leads to innovation and improvement. So wherever you do improvement, wherever you do innovation, that could be a subject matter of a patent. Next, please. What is a patent? It's basically a barter between an inventor and the government. So you disclose your idea to the government, and the government gives you a monopolistic right for a period of 20 years. That is what a patent is all about. Next, please. It provides protection to the invention or innovation to the owner of the patent. And fundamentally, there is nothing called as a global patent. People write that I have received a global patent. There is no global patent available. There is no international patent. Patent essentially is a territorial right. So patent is valid for a geographical territory. So an Indian patent is valid only in the geographical territory of India. Likewise, a US patent is valid only in the geographical territory of the United States. Neither is it valid in Canada, nor is it valid in Mexico. Right? So US patent cannot be enforced in India unless and until they have a patent in India. Right? Next, please. Quickly. Next. Okay, these are the basic 3 things that you need to know when you come across anyone who talks about innovation and for what a patent is granted. So the first criteria of patentability is novelty. It should be novel. Now what is novelty? It is a very simple definition. Novelty is defined as it should not be available, published, sold anywhere across the world before the date of filing of your patent application. So if it's not available anywhere in the world, you can have a patent on it. It's as simple as that, right? The second is needs to have an inventive step. So it should not be obvious next technical step. So people come to us and say, ये हम लोग mechanically कर रहे थे, अभी इसको हमने ये process को हमने automate कर दिया है. I can't claim a mere automation of a mechanical process as a patent because it's a next obvious step, right? So what I can say is essentially how I have done that could be a subject matter of a patent, right? So that is where patents come into and needs to have an industrial application. It can't be figment of imagination. So I can't just say I'm standing here and tomorrow I'm going to be on Mars. So that is my process, give me a patent. Sorry, it's not patentable. Okay, so it needs to have some application and how it's done, how the process has been used, what are the systems being done. So if you create an app, it will go as a computer system or an implemented system, a process, a method of doing something, right? So likewise, there are multiple amount of patents which are being filed for different steps of innovations. So next please. This is the subject matter of a patent. Machines, processes, articles of manufacturers, chemicals and substances, biotech. So if you see everything, every tech sector is a subject matter of a patent. So it could be any new composition, it could be any new system, any new machine, any new process, any new chemical process also, manufacturing process also, it could be a subject matter of a patent. So again, you need not be an inventor, quote unquote, an Einstein, right? Any improvement that you do, any new thought process that you have for a technical thought process could be a subject matter of a patent. So I'll stop here on the act perspective and just like to share with you a few things which I see happening in the future. Where are we moving on intellectual property? IP till say about 5, 7, 8 years back was merely a process which people used to go and claim some rights upon without knowing how they would want to utilize them, right? So you would come across people who have filed 35 patents or have 100 trademarks in their name. But not all of those patents would have been commercialized. What we see in IP business happening, in the next 10 to 25 years, whatever innovation is happening today, whatever new brands are being, business processes are coming today, will at least 50% should be monetized, right? So when it comes to, management per se, or monetization per se, I see a lot of commercial aspects coming into intellectual property. For example, valuation of intellectual property is going to be a big game in the future because as India increases its filings in intellectual property, that is patents and trademarks and copyrights and designs, everyone would want to value their asset. Fundamentally understand IP is an asset, right? An asset can be monetized. It's a property, right? But how do you monetize it? You either use it yourself, give it to others on a license to use, right? Or sell it off. Correct? These are the three ways typically an IP is used. What we see happening in the next 2 decades is a force on commercializing, monetizing their assets. Whether it's brands or patents or whatever it could be. First aspect, as I mentioned, valuation. Second aspect, trading of IP. How do you trade IP? How do you help people trade IP? What models could help people trade IP, right? If there is technical understanding of a product, if there is business understanding of a business, if there is financial understanding as far as valuation is concerned, any person can get into monetization of intellectual property rights. You have a professor here who has done monetization in some different parts of IP out here, right? So the easiest monetization has always been cinema, right? Because the moment IP is created, it's shown to all of us and they make money on it. So that is monetization of intellectual property. You download any music, someone gets money. So that is monetization of intellectual property, right? So these are different facets of IP per se. Where it comes to careers in IP, typically, obviously IP needs a lot of law background, so to say, to understand. But if you keep aside the law aspect of it, the things that I mentioned earlier, the law is going to go on a back seat, as what I feel. Because there is a set of lawyers who will take care of the legal aspects. But what lawyers can't do, or not can't do, but are not doing, so to say, is actually commercializing intellectual property. That is where the key differentiator is going to happen in our country in the next 2 decades. With the focus, impetus on innovation, with the impetus on startups, with the impetus on new brands coming into picture, the franchising movement which is happening in India today, right? You see anyone, you see Yevle Chaha, he has 200 franchises. So what is that? It is actually commercializing IP. He has franchised his name Yevle Chaha to 200 people. So it is, IP commercialization has gone down to, has reached all the levels, so to say, right? So this is going to further on increase. So if you want to work in the field of intellectual property ever, right? So get into that field of valuation, get into that field of management of intellectual property, get into the field of monetizing of intellectual property, get into the field of commercializing deals on intellectual property, because that is the future as far as IP and India is concerned. Knowing well that the government is investing heavily in promotion of innovation, science and technology. If you see the last trip of Prime Minister Modi to the US, it was all about science and technology. The deals that we have struck out there is about science and technology. What are the deals? Giving technology on license to manufacturing in India. It's monetizing of intellectual property. Likewise, there are going to be n number of deals which we will see in the coming decade, which would help us, all of us, essentially play a part in that science and technology innovation-driven enterprise. Right? So keep your ears and eyes open. Keep reading about science and tech and innovation. Look at how intellectual property is being propagated in business, how commercial deals are happening, because you will get to learn a lot from the deals that happen. M&A is not only about your DCF method. M&A deals will slowly start getting structured over intellectual property. Every M&A deal speaks about intellectual property. There is no M&A deal which does not speak about intellectual property. Right? So whichever industry you go into, whichever industry you want to work into or get into, start into, right? Think about intellectual property as a driver. You need not know the act well, but you should know how to commercialize well. If you commercialize it well, you are the winners. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for emphasizing the significance of intellectual property education. I want to express my deepest gratitude to you for sharing your expertise and knowledge with our young minds. Your insights have enriched our understanding and inspired us to reflect upon the impact of intellectual property in our lives and societies. I would also like to thank our students for their patient listening. As we conclude this session, let us remember that the intellectual property is not merely a legal concept, but a fundamental driver of human progress. Thank you.